first off, can you start us by telling us a little bit about yourself and your name?
My name is Veronica degefu. Born and raised in Addis, Ababa, Ethiopia. I moved out here when I was 18 years old, straight to Las Vegas. And I've lived there for about 10, 12 years now. Yeah.
When was the last time you've been back to Addis?
I don't remember what year it was, but I went there for like 4 days because I had to bring my father here, and it was kind of like unplanned trip, emergency. I had to go, but I haven't gone to visit. Yeah.
I feel you. Yeah, no, you should. Like, it's changed dramatically. The modernism of things now in Addis is definitely coming to life, especially recently in the last couple of months. But okay, so we're gonna hop right into the topic. So you are the sole owner, correct, of your coffee shop, Savor Coffee?
Yes.
True. How long has that been open for?
4 years. We'll celebrate our 4th year in September.
Well, first, what inspired you to open your own coffee shop, and what was the journey like getting started?
I had planned to open a shop, some kind of business. I just knew I wanted to be in the business world. Didn't know exactly what I wanted to do in business. But I remember really giving a thought about like, what can I contribute to this world that is so a part of me and that I'm passionate about. And I enjoy coffee, and on top of that, I thought, okay, I'm from Ethiopia, so it seems fitting for me to introduce the Ethiopian coffee culture here in America. And I talked to my dad about it. He said, I'll send you beans. You'll roast your own beans here if you want to get in it. But above everything, too, I'm a Christian. And after I got saved and became a Christian, I realized that the Christian community likes to get together in coffee shops. That's where I did most of my fellowship and getting together with my friends. And I was in coffee shops 3-4 times a week. And I said, I can create a space where they can get together, and it's a part of me. I'm a Christian, and I also love coffee. I'm Ethiopian. So 2 things that I'm really passionate about. I feel like I can start something there, but with a lot of prayer, of course. But I trusted that if this was God's will for my life, that the right doors would open at the right time, and I knew to do what I needed to do where I was, take the next step in every process. So, yeah.
Would you say your family has been the main people supporting you in your journey, or is it more of like within yourself and pushing, or is it with your fellowship?
A lot of prayer. I believe God can guide people, and I prayed a lot about God, if this is your plan for my life, then show me the next step to where I need to get to, right? Yeah. So at that time, it was I was doing my grad school and doing my MBA. I didn't understand at the time because a lot of people told me, you don't need your MBA to start a business. A lot of people told me that. And I would agree with that to a certain degree because our journey looks different, right? Yeah. So I just believed that's what I was supposed to do. Signed up at UNLV to do my MBA. And while I was doing my MBA, the right door surely opened for me to start my business without finishing my grad school. So I wasn't really able to finish grad school when I started business. Yeah.
And for new people that don't know the term, I think you said MBA?
Yes, that's administrations of business, masters in business administrations. Yeah.
What is it like to be Habesha, and how does that affect your business, and any pros and cons?
Of course it does. I mean, people recognize that I'm Ethiopian. They really relate Ethiopia with coffee. Okay. So they have this sense of like there's an authenticity to the coffee that I'm serving them because I am Ethiopian and I own the shop, right? Yeah. But more than that, I am able to communicate with people how we do coffee in our country because people are curious when they find out that coffee shop is owned by Habesha, by an Ethiopian, even though honestly, if you walk in and see the place, you would not recognize that it's owned by Habesha or Ethiopian, because there's nothing that reflects that yet. Besides, I have a jabana like sitting on my by the register, so that people who know would ask, would be curious and ask what it is, so that I would have the opportunity to explain to them.
So you have plans in the future to put like some Ethiopian touches on the shop to kind of, I don't want to say show that you are Ethiopian or you have background of it, but just to show like, hey, this is owned by an Ethiopian owner, and here are the setting in my cafe to show that.
Yes, I'm actually in the process of doing like my own brand tea, and it's gonna say Ethiopian tea, and it's gonna have my business name on it. So I think at some point people will pick up, as the more I release products that are made in house. People are going to start to recognize that it's owned by an Ethiopian, because I still haven't gotten to that roasting stage. My goal is really to bring coffee, to work directly with farmers in Ethiopia, and then bag my own bag in a way that reflects that it came from Ethiopia. Maybe write something in Amharic on the packaging. But definitely, I mean, that's part of it, right? Like, part of it is to let people know that this is who I am, this is what I care about, and merging the two, Western world with our country and the way we do things, so that they have more understanding of our culture.
Okay. I want to ask, the name Savor Coffee, how did that originate?
Or did it come from?
I did not give Savor its name. So part of what's amazing about my story is I was a customer in my shop before I became an owner. Yes. That's the part where you see a lot of God's hand on it, because right when I said, okay, what am I supposed to do, and prayed about it, right? What is true to me, and what can I contribute to people around me that is so true to me, because that's what makes it unique and stand out, right? Because we're all unique. So I wrote down everything that I dreamt this coffee shop to be, right? And the beautiful part about it is to look back on that thing that I wrote years ago, and to see everything that I wrote down come to pass. Even though I didn't design the place, I didn't give it the name, I bought it from someone else who owned it before me. Yes. But I would go to that coffee shop to study for my MBA. So it's in that process that the right door opened for me to get in and be able to own it down the road.
So the name Savor Coffee, after you became ownership of, or you had ownership over it, do you have intents to change the name or to keep the name?
To keep the name, Savor means to enjoy. So enjoy coffee. I love that it's short. People can remember it. And I love the argument behind it whenever people walk in the shop and they're like, do you call it Savor Coffee or Savor Coffee? There's always that argument between people. It's Savor Coffee. But I liked the name. I had the opportunity to change it, but I decided to keep it. Yeah.
How did you decide on the location, the design of your coffee shop, and what were some of the key factors you considered in terms of after you became owner? Was there anything that you switched up, or did you keep everything about the same length or the same design concept?
So everything stayed the same. So the beautiful part about the whole story is, again, I didn't have a say in the location, in the name of the shop, the design of it. Besides, I did, except for doing the decor and changing a few things in there. But I remember I was told by people that it was owned by Christians, and I would drive by it, and it had just opened during COVID, 2020, so September of 2020, and I would pray for the owners at that time, because I'm like, man, they're doing it for the Lord, and I want to support them. I want to pray for them to have wisdom and to have integrity, really not knowing that I was praying for a coffee shop that would be my own a year down the road, which is an amazing story on its own, right? So, and then I went to the shop for the first time, and I saw a Range Rover parked outside, and it was like my dream car, like to the detail of it. It was like black on black. I just went inside and I'm like, man, who is driving this car? And I couldn't see anybody except for the barista behind the counter. I went up to her and I'm like, is that your car parked outside? And she said, yeah, that's my car. And we started a conversation with the owner. I really didn't know she was the owner at that time. And she said, you know, there's something about you. I don't know what it is. And she offered me the job to manage her place. She knew I was doing my MBA. That might have been one of the things that drew her. But she said, can you manage the store for me? At that time, I had a different job offer to work in a corporate world. Oh, okay. So my goal was like go in corporate, build up capital, come and open my shop, right?
Yeah.
But God had a different way of opening the right doors. So she offered me the job to manage the place for her. And I was like, man, I can't do that because then I'm really compromising the pay that this corporate business could offer, right?
Yeah.
But she said, you know, I'll give you equity down the road. So when she said that, I said, you know, and I prayed a lot about it. Honestly, I felt like God was saying, tell the other people, email them, and that you're not going to take the job, and tell her that you're going to accept it. So I was on the process of onboarding on the other one. So I had to email them saying, sorry, I'm going to take this job as a manager. They were not happy about it, but I said yes to her. Not knowing that a year later she was going to offer to sell the place for me.
In terms of, I think when it comes to the money aspects of things, sometimes I've learned, even though I'm young, but I've still learned a lot, is that as much as like the corporate job could have paid more, the future maybe held something different where you could even go higher than you were going to go with the corporate job if you just invested in something that might have not exactly returned that investment you would have got with the other job, but slowly along the lines you could build something bigger to where you open, I don't know, 5 other shops that are generating more than what you would have received from your corporate job. So sometimes I think people jump on a lot of high paying jobs sometimes, and sometimes they might not be happy because maybe it's just the money that attracted them and not actually the perspective of what holds in their future and if they're going to enjoy that job or not. Because it seems like when you're offered this position, you enjoy what you do and you enjoyed the history of the shop to where you were happy enough to take that on, and now you became the owner of it. So you went from what, manager?
From customer to manager.
Exactly. So it's just a hierarchy that you just have to be humble about and slowly climb to where now you're enjoying what you do.
Absolutely. And it's and it's an incredible opportunity, to be honest with you. And the people that sold the business to me, they're incredible, amazing people who said, we're not going to sell this to anyone but you because we know how hard you've worked to grow the business with us. But yes, you're right. I could have taken the corporate job, and it was a recruiting job, and I was never passionate about recruiting, never wanted to do that. But the only reason I had said yes to that job was to build capital to open my coffee shop. Do you understand? So things just worked a different way, but I'm glad I prayed about all my decisions and listened to the God I know was guiding me, because I didn't honestly expect them to offer to sell the place to me a year from me being hired, you know?
Yeah. Oh wow, a year. That's not bad at all. That's actually really great. Yeah.
So I was able to celebrate the second birthday of that shop by myself, which is incredible.
Yeah, and I can definitely relate to kind of that story a little bit in terms of like how when I was in Addis Ababa, Addis Ababa, you know, Queen. I was in, I think, 11th grade, or I had just finished, or something like that. I think 11th grade, where I was transitioning to the 12th, right? And I wanted to work ለክረምቱ ማለት ነው። ለክረምቱ ሰርቼ ለብሩ ሳይሆን more of the business aspect ለማወቅ ማለት ነው. So I just went to this restaurant unknowingly. Well, no, actually I was going around different places asking for jobs, but this restaurant kind of stuck because first it looked like they were actually doing things in their startup and investing. I believe over quality over quantity personally. Some places will push that quantity so bad that the quality is not exactly to standard. or it's just not consistent. And I ended up working here. I remember the monthly wage was only like on Moto, and half of that, if you really think about it, but taxino, so Burmiatafa. So again, it was just for the experience. I learned the experience, and I figured out the business aspect of thing to a degree. I tried to be close with the owner as possible, so I can kind of learn what he does and how he manages things. And after that, I came here to the States to where I work now at a coffee shop because I want to open my own coffee shop in Ethiopia, as we discussed about. And the best way I think to do that is even if there's higher jobs or a better opportunity along the way, sometimes you have to lower yourself a little bit to understand more.
Yourself and learn from other people 1000%. And again, like, not everybody's journey is going to look the same, right? Some people, again, that's why I believe, as humans, as people, for example, if there's a pen and you want to know the purpose of why that thing was made, you go to the manufacturer and the person who actually came up with the idea of a pen and ask the person, why did you come up with this? What is this made for, right?
Yeah.
Same with us. We all have a purpose, and it's up to us to go to our creator, the one who made us and gave us individual, unique purposes, and say, why did you create me? What is in me, my potential, right? My talents that no one else can give this world but me, that I can contribute as a service to my community, to people, to the world. You never know. So in that, you will be guided by God as you seek him and find out what your purpose is and what you were created to do. And to be honest with you, doors you never expected to open will open at the right time. If you're faithful in the little you've been given, right? Now, if you humble yourself and get hired somewhere, wherever you're at, you're working with diligence and learning whatever you could learn, humbling yourself, I truly believe doors that you never expected could open for you. But everybody's journey looks very different, so I'm a firm believer in that.
Well, speaking on journeys, what do you think are the key challenges and rewards of being a female business owner in the coffee industry, and how have you navigated those as an entrepreneur?
Challenges, I think, so the people who had the business before me looked a whole lot different than I did, right? Couple, a bit older than I am, had much more money than I did, are Americans, I'm a foreigner. I remember when I was in college, my professor asked me, Veronica, you're a woman, you're a foreigner, you're black, how are you ever gonna succeed in this country? And I will never forget that question, but I responded to her in an essay form. I wrote an essay for her and responded to her. And I told her, in spite of what's happening, right, without denying what's around us, I truly believe whatever God-given purpose I have, I can fulfill it, and nothing can stop me from doing that. Because God is the God who beats the odds and puts us in places we never dreamt to be. Seriously, if we're faithful to follow, right? So I believe that's exactly what happened. Not that I didn't face obstacles or came across people who didn't think much of me or were afraid that I would mess up the business or,
Jealousy as well.
yeah, mostly it's people who just could see that I have no experience in business, no experience in coffee. So they're saying, how is this girl going to make it after she takes over? And to be honest with you, my unwavering confidence is in the God who's walking with me, not really in myself, but in the God that I know is beside me, who opened the door that couldn't open for it. It seemed hard for me to be where I am right now, but the Lord and God made a way. God made a way, and I believed if God made a way, He would be with me along the journey and allow me to face the obstacles that I was facing, whatever they may be, right? But to be honest with you, the rewards are a lot greater than the challenges. There were a lot of times where I felt like God was telling me to do certain things. For example, I operate my business 6 days a week, not 7. And I remember it was 7 initially. So when I felt like God was saying, close one day and rest and prioritize your rest, prioritize church, prioritize the right things in your life. And I'll take you further than you want to go, right? And that's hard because you're thinking money, you're thinking there's a lot at stake, right? So at that time, that was I would say one of the biggest challenges I faced was to say, hold on, I make 3 times what I make in regular days on Sundays. How am I going to close my Sundays? I learned a lot of it is walking by faith. And as I did what I believed God was telling me to do, which is close Sundays, go to church, rest on that day, get back Monday, work with integrity and faithfulness and give it my all for 6 days and rest. I have seen, honestly, traction, profit, God's faithfulness and goodness in when I did what he told me to do, and him saying, I'm here and I'm true and I'm faithful. So my reliance is on God. My challenge is to obey by faith, but the reward has been to see how God is true and faithful. The God I worship who got me here is true and faithful.
How do you approach creating a welcoming and a unique atmosphere in your coffee shop?
That's a very good question.
And also, what roles do customers play in making your business model a welcoming space?
My customers,
Yeah.
my employees or customers?
What role does customer service? Oh, my bad, not customer service. Yeah, so in like your employee aspect, I would say.
Yes.
What role do they play in making your atmosphere as welcoming and your vision of things?
Let me start by saying this. Part of my passion is also interior design, okay? What got me into the coffee industry, because I knew I had like I knew I would have the opportunity to create the interior space. And that was one of the most rewarding things, is to be able to do that, even though I didn't do it from the foundation of the place, but I was able to put on my own touches on the shop. And but I think when people walk in, to create a very inviting and clean, because it's a food space, right? People come in there to eat, to drink, an environment that is clean, open, inviting. It's just something that I truly, truly believe makes a lot of difference, right? In customers' experience. When they walk in your shop, what are they seeing? That immediate like emotion that evokes in them. If it's a very chaotic and not kept up place, not organized, that has a lot to do with like how they respond to their experience down the road, right? So I do believe interior design, the way you design your space, matters, and the way I believe would have a very positive response from customers is to do the essentials, keep it as minimum as possible. Do the essentials, only have things that really are functional for customer use, and besides that, I also learned the other important thing is, if you have the most beautiful, well-designed space, but don't have a friendly face to your customers, that it means nothing. And friendliness doesn't necessarily always mean that you smile, but that you are curious about people and you take interest in people and do more than just serve them coffee, right?
Yeah.
It's really that simple human interaction of like, how are you? How was your day? And I deal a lot with tourists too, so.
Oh, do a lot of tourists pass by Savor Coffee?
So we're
One of the closest coffee shops to the airport, so we do get a lot of tourists because I am located in a tourist location because it's Las Vegas, so we do get a lot of tourists. So it's a very fun experience to be able to interact with people from all around the world.
Well, on the topic of customers, when it comes to your employees, let's say I'm a barista that doesn't have too much under his belt in terms of history, but I want to get employed at Savor Coffee. What are some of the key factors when you interview your employees that are or the future maybe employee, what are some of the factors that you consider that they should have, or what do you look for when hiring your employee?
That's a very good question because I do get a lot of applicants, but I hire very, very few employees all the time. I would have maybe 1, 2 to 3 employees at a time, and I'm very selective with my employees. I do believe employees that I hire, even though it's not a very high-paying job, barista, right? But I do believe character matters more than skills. So I believe in hiring people that I can sense. Obviously, I'm not going to know them well enough to know their character, but if I sense that they have a very solid character, I'd rather hire them with 0 skills than hire people with skills and don't seem like they're people that I can trust or work with. When I train my baristas, I train them to be managers and not just baristas, to be able to handle the work on their own if they're as if no one was there. So it matters to me that I hire people that I trust and not just make coffee, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because I'm leaving the store to them. So I think it does matter to hire people that you can trust and train the skill of making coffee than just seeing the experience and bringing them on if they don't have a very good character or reputation, because they are going to be the face of your shop. So,
Well, as much as your employees play a big role in running your shop when you are not there, as well as your manager or so whatnot, when it comes to the second biggest thing which is a marketing perspective, how do you approach marketing and promoting your coffee shop?
it's so funny because when I was doing my MBA, when I was in school, I had projects after projects that I had to work on. And I was like a firm believer in not marketing your business and leaving it to word of mouth and putting all your money in perfecting your product or your service that you're providing to people. So I believed in investing all your money in the quality of service and product, and that in itself will create those people that are going to be loyal to you, and word of mouth would be the only way that your name would circulate in the consumer world. But recently I just started experimenting on like Instagram ads and everything, which doesn't hurt. And now more than ever, I am considering investing in marketing. But I will say, in the first few years of business, I don't recommend marketing at all. I believe in investing your business investing your money towards perfecting your product and service. And down the road, once you build enough profit to where you can put money in marketing, then I would consider putting that money well into marketing, if that makes sense. Because again, you can allocate very few amount of money from your business towards marketing in the first few years. But first few years, you understand you're barely breaking even, right?
Yeah.
But after a few years, you start making good amount of money, then you would consider putting a good portion of your business income towards marketing, which it will make a big difference than if you were to put a few dollars in, if that makes sense. So I would say I personally did that. I initially didn't believe in marketing. Then I saw the power of marketing, but I do believe in doing it well down the road and not just allocating a few dollars towards marketing the beginning of your business, if that makes sense.
When you do start your marketing or your complete marketing process, are you going to take on the challenge yourself, or are you going to hire a company or a person to handle that yet alone?
So I considered both. I did both, right? I had someone who was helping me with like social media, but social media is not cheap right now, right? And in the coffee business, it might not be very reasonable for you to invest that much money into like social media advertising or whatever in the first few years. But down the road, I think it can be a game changer. If you can do it yourself, that's amazing if you're able to. I do it myself right now. But I do believe marketing can make a huge difference in your business, especially as coffee, right? Because you're doing coffee, and a lot of, I believe, our consumers can be found on Instagram and whatever social TikTok or whatever social media. For me personally, my marketing would be towards Google Ads because, like I said, we're located near the airport, and a lot of people that search for coffee shops are tourists that are inside the airport who are trying to go and see different coffee shops, or that are on the strip who are trying to find different coffee shops. So my marketing strategy looks different, but I do believe, yes, if you can do it yourself, yes, because it's very pricey. But if you're at a point where someone else can do it, always delegate work to people who are good at what they're doing, right? Not only are you offering opportunity for those people, but you can focus on growing your business on different aspects. So I do believe in delegating work 1000%.
You said that you work 6 days a week, and I think you guys are closed on Sundays, or you're open all the week? You're closed Sunday. How many hours would you say you work personally per week, or you invest in Savory Coffee?
So initially it was a lot. I was there almost every day. But as the business grows, you hire people and you train them, and when you feel like they're good enough to work on their own, then you slowly let them run the business and focus on expanding your business if that's your goal. But I do believe in being present in my shop because part of my passion is creating that relationship with my customers beyond just offering them coffee. There are so many customers that I pray with and I pray for, that I have built community with. We meet out for lunch and dinner just out of the relationship that I've built there by being present in my shop. But I'm a firm believer in being around, in being present, and really sharing the passion that you have for coffee with your customers, right?
Yeah.
Because you can hire passionate employees, but no one would be as passionate about that place as the owner themselves. So it adds a different touch to it when you see the owner of the place there serving you coffee, talking to you about your day, sharing my journey. I share this exact conversation with so many of my customers who want to get in the same industry or who want to build their own business. Not in any way to brag, but just to give you an example of like a few of my customers who came back to me and said they're both doctors. One said, I was able to open my own practice because you have inspired me from your story, and he's just my customer, right? And he was able to open his own practice. The other person came, a surgeon, and said, you inspired me to do this, and now I'm able to branch out and open my own practice. And I love hearing stories like that because they've seen me work there, and now to be able to own the place and to grow the place, I believe that inspires people. And I won't be able to share my story unless I'm there in person, you know what I mean? Alongside my employees. And
Yeah, I think employees also are a big factor in their progress and commitment, because I tend to disagree a little bit in terms of no one would care about the business more than yourself. I feel like personally it depends on one, how you treat your employees, obviously, but second, you being there. I'm sure, well, I can't speak for your business, but I'm sure there are places or different companies and businesses that when employees see someone that is committed, treats them nice at work, and overall has positive energy towards a lot of things, naturally, if that person is really caring about you, then they'll care about your business, and they'll care sometimes equally as you do. Because I know me, when I work here currently, with my current manager compared to my last job in the coffee world, when I see the company that I work here and my manager in tune with making sure they strive, it makes me even want to do better now, because I know, okay, I know I'm passionate at customer service at its finest, and this company and the people that work here are. So it pushes me to be as equally passionate as if I owned it. Because just like how you, when you were you said an employee and then a manager. What was the step before manager? Customer. You were a customer, then you became a manager, then you became the sole owner. It's like, I'm sure when you were a customer and manager, you or when you were the manager, I'm sorry, you cared as much as you owned it, I'm sure, right?
Yes, but again, you think about it, and I think you will understand what I mean, but like when something is birthed out of passion, right?
Yeah.
There's a different level of involvement in the business, and a lot at stake for you than there is for the employees. And they're amazing employees. And to be honest with you, I've only worked with amazing employees, and I'm so grateful and thankful for that. All my employees that I consider my brothers and my sisters and family in an honest way. Even after they've left my shop, we still keep in contact. I go to their birthdays, and it's just amazing. I built amazing relationships. But again, Savor was birthed out of my heart, and it's something that came out of me, every aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you can hire amazing employees that would care for your business, and I would 100% agree with the way you treat your business indirectly affecting the way your employees take care of your business, right?
Yeah.
But again, it's your responsibility as the owner, and no one is as responsible wholeheartedly and as involved as the person who's putting money, blood, sweat, and tears, all of it, right?
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say. But I do believe in investing in employees, and with wholeheartedly, I believe in investing in employees. I was just actually talking to my employees before we started this conversation, and I'm like, please pray for me. I'm about to do this interview. Let it go everything well. He's like, yes, you got this. And I'm not even sure if I'm gonna make it back because my flight keeps getting canceled. And he's like, don't worry, I got you tomorrow morning, even if it's canceled. Amazing people I can count on. You know what I mean?
That's great.
And I'm truly blessed by my employees. Yeah.
When you have a great support team that has your back, a lot of things turn around so much smoother. Yeah, you can soar, you can, and they'll be right there. They'll be your left and your right wing while you go up. So that is really important. That's why I think it's really important when someone becomes a manager or a lead barista in the coffee industry of their shop. It's really even a regular barista on its own. It's really important to maintain certain things about yourself, such as maybe, I don't know, if you're a person that has anger issues, then you need to control those issues to first bring positivity to the business and to your employees, and to just be able to work with everyone. Because working at a coffee shop, customer service is probably the number one thing that comes with it. If your customer service is bad, you might be a good barista, but then eventually you won't really get anywhere because you're not connecting with your customers. We didn't know each other until a couple of days ago, but I connected with you. My service was good enough to where we could communicate, and now look where we are now. If I was just bullheaded, or if I didn't care about the company and I was a bad or had bad customer service, we might not have been sitting right now across from each other. So I think that's really
1000%. Trust me, I can't emphasize that enough, okay? Because not only have I learned it from doing right, but I've learned it from doing wrong, from not caring so much. And I've learned it the hard way, how much that truly matters for your business. And it's not just about business. Again, as a Christian, part of my passion is to be able to build that relationship with people. People are my business. People are my heart more than anything. My bottom line is not just profit, but built relationships, right? And I'm not just saying that because it sounds good, and I wholeheartedly believe in that. Now, do I perfectly execute that all the time? No, because there are times where we fail to do that as employees and customers. As an owner and them as the employees, and we have grace for each other, but we do understand the importance of building relationships with people. I believe that wholeheartedly, that it's not just transactional.
And speaking on in terms of you being at the shop for 6 days a week, you were there for a long time during the beginning. I'm sure you're there now for a good amount of time now. Can you share some of the insights into managing the day-to-day operations of a coffee shop, and what are some of the core operational and logistical considerations?
So I would say I'm hands-on, and I do almost everything in my shop whatever needs to be done, right? but I do believe that other coffee shops do have. Okay, you know what? Let me not even talk about other coffee shops. The way I believe I operate my business that is so unique and different from most coffee shops is we have very few people behind the counter working, and I do believe a lot can be done with just few hands behind the counter if you're able to manage your time well, if that makes sense. So that's what makes, I believe, Savor and the way Savor operates very different is very few hands, very few people behind the counter all the time. And you're able to manage it, and it's manageable as long as it's manageable, you know, but having a good structure around work and everything. But I do almost everything from making the food to making the coffee to cleaning tables, cleaning bathrooms if I have to. I mean, of course, as Savor started to grow, I started to like delegate work more to people. So I have someone to come clean in the morning, to prepare food, to do groceries and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, that's I think so. That's like the main thing when you take on such a high position. It's expected from any job, but the good thing about it is if you commit 100% now, your commitment will later on smooth things out because you put in a system already
Absolutely.
with your employees, with how you operate, and with the logistics of how you do things. Naturally, things will smooth out to the point where you maybe don't hire a manager, and after that manager catches on your way of doing things, it's such a smooth way already because you've already smoothed out the process. You know what to expect, you know the fees, you know what to order, you know how to run your shop.
Absolutely.
And it's just about now trusting someone with that same amount of passion you have, like when you were a manager, to then take that on. I think that's really important to start now in these things. And you're doing that by going and working, even though you have already so much on your back of being the owner of it, you're still hands-on, which is really great. Because then your employees know that you're in it to win it, and you're in it all in. Not because I'm an owner now, you do all the work and I step back. Naturally, you let them also gravitate towards doing these things as well, because when you're not present or if you're absent for some reason or you have to deal with a matter, like you said, you know your shop is well taken care of. You know, you can trust whoever you need to trust to pick up on some things that you may not be able to attend to at the current moment,
Yeah.
which is a really good factor. Okay, now we're kind of finishing up on these last four questions here. Where do you see your coffee shop in the next 5 to 10 years? And what are your long-term goals and vision for your business?
God willing, my desire, so part of what makes our coffee shop unique is that we sell Bibles. We have a shop, a gift shop inside of our coffee shop, and we're focused and committed to building people's spiritual journey and to contribute whatever we can to that. And so my goal is to go into metro cities in United States and be able to open locations. I don't want to really expand my business within the same state, mainly for the reason of sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ with the nation. And that's more important to me than making coffee itself, to be honest with you. And I see coffee shops and coffee and the coffee industry and the community around coffee shops as an avenue to be able to reach people on a deeper level than just satisfy their desire for their craving for coffee. Part of that, doing that, is also serving people well. So I do believe in offering the best products, the best customer experience. But at the heart of it all, my desire is to see people know the God who's created them and who loves them. And that's what drives me. That's what wakes me up in the morning and makes me want to go to work and makes me want to stay there and build relationships, is knowing that I have the opportunity to talk to people and reach people for a greater cause and higher purpose.
On the topic of you not wanting to open maybe a second store in the same state, what or no, what are the challenges? Yes, what are the challenges of being being a owner in LA and not LA, sorry, in Los Angeles alone? What are the challenges to expect? Sorry, Las Vegas. Sorry, what are the challenges of being in Las Vegas in terms of the coffee industry?
Obviously, like Las Vegas is a huge tourist city, so there are a lot of restaurants and cafes on the strip, right? That are very well built inside the casinos and everything. So, unless you're again building your marketing strategy in a way where you will capture these people's attention, we're not located on the strip. We're off the strip about 10 minutes away. So, to be able to get these tourists in the midst of all that competition that's there on the strip, right, where mostly people go. It's a bit challenging to say hello, we're here, even though we're local and we're not on the strip. But I still love to hear when people are like, we're on the strip, but we found your shop and we came here and we took Uber 15, 20 minutes away just to be here. So that's very rewarding to hear. But I think the challenge would be all those competitions, it being in a tourist city that you have of a very well-built cafes or restaurants. But then again, they still find me, so I'm so thankful for that.
That's great.
Yeah.
And on the topic of, in terms of expansion and you not wanting to expand exactly in the same state, when it comes to expanding your coffee shop, what would be your next move if you could open another location tomorrow? What would be your next state that you would consider opening?
I would say Orange County.
Orange County?
Yes, California.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why Cali, if you find me ask? Is it because it's a tourist spot? People.
Big city, and to be able to open that shop, my shop, in an unreached area. Unreached, I mean unreached by the gospel. And to be able to locate it there. Yeah. You can walk in our coffee shop and the first thing you recognize that it is a Christian coffee shop because we do lift the name of Jesus unashamedly. Our goal is really to let people know that God has loved them through his son Jesus Christ. I would love to take that message to an unreached areas where people don't expect to experience that in a coffee shop, right? They go to get coffee, but there's much deeper things in store than just coffee. Things that I believe matter more than anything. So,
So you say there could be more to coffee in general, and on that topic, first, what is the advice you'd give to other women who are interested in opening either their own coffee shop or small business? What is the advice you would give?
I think I kind of touched on this on the beginning, right? I think first to really pray about if that's truly what you were created to do, because I want to do so many other things, right? Besides just coffee or being a barista but I prayed about what will bring out my fullest potential that is truly hidden in me. Sometimes the right opportunities reveal to you what's truly inside of you, right? All the potentials. So I believe in seeking God, our creator, whoever is it, even you, right? You might say, I want to do coffee, but God might have a lot in store for you than just making coffee. There might be untapped or unrevealed hidden talents in you that you have not even realized. So I do believe seeking God to open the right doors for you and taking that first step of like whether it is going to school, and that might not be for everyone, or saying yes to that corporate job that will eventually lead you to your intended destiny, right? But I do believe everyone has to individually seek their creator, why they were created on earth, and for God to open the right doors. But I do believe when God does reveal to you the next step, be faithful and work with integrity and be diligent, and don't underestimate small beginnings because it can get a little discouraging at first wherever you are, right? You can be going to school and not see how you can get to where you want to get to, but I do believe having faith, even when you can't see, and being faithful where you are and trusting that God will open the right door when the time is right and in the direction where you're supposed to go.
And in terms of other directions, would you choose differently if you had that opportunity of, I'm sure you're familiar with the Matrix and the red pill and blue pill, and to that reference, would you still choose to still be the manager? I think they offered you a manager position in the very beginning. Would you choose that, or would you choose being in the corporate part if you had to choose again?
1,000% exactly what I did. I believe I did what I was supposed to do. And now, did I ever dream of buying the shop and owning it? No, but I am very thankful that that door opened again while I was doing my part in managing the place. And I took on a lot more than what I was being paid for because, again, when you're passionate, right, you invest a lot more into it than whatever money is just not the main driver of what you're doing when you care about what you're doing, you know what I mean?
Happiness, your pursuit to things also, and your drive is the main thing that motivates you to push forward. Hence why I think a lot of people, particularly in America, I would say, is a lot of people end up in a loop where they might be doing something that might be profitable for them, but to a degree, but they're not really happy with what they do. And that could lead to a lot of factors, mental issues.
Yes, but I would also say this, like there could be seasons where you're not enjoying what you're doing, but by praying, if God is saying, persevere where I've put you, you get out of that place with perseverance, with more built character. I don't believe you run away from things just because you're unhappy in the season, because every season will teach you a lot of valuable things that you need to learn. But I do believe it's being wise and discerning about the places that you're meant to stay in and the places that you're meant to leave. There could be some jobs where you're absolutely content and comfortable, where God is saying, I want you to quit and move on to the next part, because guess what? God has more in store for you than what's here. So I do believe it takes a lot of discerning wisdom, prayer, understanding than just relying on happiness or unhappiness, because trust me, there are days where I'm like, man, this is hard, and do I want to keep going? But I do keep going, you know what I mean? So it's not completely reliant on that happiness, or I don't feel very happy in this place factor, if that makes sense. There's a lot more to making that decision, you know what I mean? There are a lot of places that I've stayed in without being happy, but it has built perseverance in me because I have stayed and not just run away from it.
In terms, well, we have to kind of wrap it up as time is kind of going short. To wrap up the final question, is there anything else you'd like to share about your experience as a female shop owner and entrepreneur, and any other tips you'd want to give people, again, that are becoming in the business world? I know you already kind of touched it within the interview, but is there anything else other crucial that you think you'd want to share?
Okay, let me say this with
I-
whole heart.
I want to add a little something to that, is especially for people from any country, not just Ethiopia, that come to the States, and there are a lot of new terminologies to learn. I myself am learning as well as I go along. I want to also see if you can kind of touch on that, on what direction should people go when they arrive here. People that have no knowledge of the States, really, how the system is, how to move around, taxes, etc. How did you perceive that when you came, and how did you understand these words and these terminologies and how to do things?
The answer that I'm going to give you might not be the answer that you're looking for, that people are expecting to hear, but this is what I wholeheartedly believe. And what I wholeheartedly believe also got me to where I am today with very little effort put in it, okay? And with very little money, I promise you. I believe in pursuing God and not pursuing a dream or pursuing money or pursuing passion. I believe in pursuing the God who created you. to live uprightly before Him. And I believe God, whether you're a female or a male, can take you places you've never dreamt to go in your life. I wholeheartedly believe that. God can open the doors no one can open for you. No man can close the doors God has opened for you. The reality is we might be living in a place where we're not the ideal candidates for a lot of positions we want to get into. But God is the God who can do the impossible in your life. So I do believe in seeking the Lord, staying near Him, let Him guide you. Say yes to following Him, even if it feels like you're jumping off a cliff sometimes. But you'll go to places you've never dreamt to go. The Bible says those who wait on the Lord will soar on wings like eagles, okay? Waiting on the Lord means following Him, trusting Him, obeying Him. And you'll find yourself in places where you've never ever dreamt to go. I have no other recipe for success in my life until now and for days to come besides seeking my God, following Him, obeying Him. Not for personal gain, but as I walk with Him, I find myself in rooms I never thought I would be, in places I never thought I would be, right? I have the opportunity to be on local TV next week by the grace of God. But guess what? I'll be sharing the same story I shared with you. It doesn't matter if 1 million people are watching or one person is in front of me. My story is I followed God, and God has done far beyond what I have dreamt for myself. So, yeah.
And I'm so glad that we were able to share these stories and share your passion of how you got to where you are and where you're continuing to be. I'm glad you gave me the opportunity in the space, and I really appreciate that. And hey,
Good coffee.
Yep.
Good service.
Yes, ma'am.
For this, for my Coke.
No problem.
For this gentleman. Thank you so much. Seriously, it's a treat.
It was so glad to have you, and for you to be kind of the first serious person to be on this podcast. I probably will not forget. I won't forget this. I remember I tried to do this in Ethiopia. Nowhere near this level of equipment. I remember it was like, if you know Ethiopia, a lot of things are older. So it was an older laptop. It was a beat up Samsung, and it just, me coming here and me being able to do all this now is also a blessing.
And I pray for the success of whatever you're doing, that God will take you farther than you've ever imagined. And it's possible. It's possible. One person at a time. I believe you can affect and change the lives of others.
Yes, ma'am. And I appreciate you for coming on, Veronica.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you.